Fantasy sports and sports cards, two totally completely different worlds, right? Wrong. What if I told you that daily leagues, daily fantasy sports, and even sports betting are fueling the one of the biggest shifts in the hobby, I guess you could say over the last 20 years, ever since fantasy sports have been coming into play. Think about it. Every week, every day, you have millions of people that are glued to their phone or their computers and looking at their fantasy teams, tracking stats, tracking injuries, tracking who's taking over what, who has the hottest hands, who's breaking out. And guess what? The obsession is spilling over into sports cards, into the sports card market. So if a player drops 30 points on a Monday night, the next day his rookie card is selling out. So I'm here to break down how fantasy sports and how playing them could help you predict trends and also stay on top of who's hot and even get to know who is who in the world of fantasy sports. And before we even get into this, I want to remind you guys about our Insider Club. And what this is going to do is every few weeks, we're going to send out an email and we'll give you when things are dropping, like the Topps 2025 Series 1 just dropped last Thursday. And we'll send you out things when these things are dropping so you can look for them, like when they're dropping in the hobby shops or when they're going into retail and so on and so forth. So you can stay on top of things because it's very hard to find these things when you are looking online and when things are coming out and what date this is coming out, what date is the hobby box dropping out, how about the blaster box, how about the hanger packs, and all that stuff. So we're trying to compile all this information and keep it in one email that'll help you guys and help you understand that. So all you got to do is comment Insider, and we will send you that link. You can sign up, no strings attached, and you can look for that email when all these things are coming out. I know the NHL Series 2 is coming out, and I'm looking forward to grabbing Matvei Michkov from the Flyers. He's a really good rookie, and a couple other rookies from hockey, even though hockey doesn't really trend that well compared to baseball and basketball and football. But I do like looking at the rookie cards and trying to grab some rookie cards early. And the Series 2 NHL Per Deck is coming out next month. So look for that, and you can find some cool rookie cards that weren't necessarily in the Series 1. So, again, comment Insider. We'll send you a link. You can sign up, and that's all you got to do. No ifs, ands, or buts. Easy stuff. So, how is fantasy? I've been saying this in a couple of my last videos on how if you play fantasy, you really know who are good in sports cards. Excuse me. You know really good who's on top, what are the trends, who's trending, and things like that. And say a running back gets hurt. Okay, how's that backup running back, if you have him on your team, like, man, I can go get a sports card because he might be the new next best thing. So it really works in football a lot because it's weekly, but even baseball and hockey and basketball, they're daily, and you can really do that and find at least know who the cards are and the players are. Helps you know whoever's all the goalies and all the teams, who are the great pitchers on each team, and things like that. And if you're going to open up a pack of Topps 2025, Series 1, you get some cards in there. They maybe necessarily not knew who they were before, but now you kind of do. So what is the connection? The first thing I wrote down is the connection. Like, what connection can I say to you guys that might make you want to play fantasy? Now, I'm not forcing you to play fantasy, and you can play free fantasy leagues too because it's very easy to play free stuff, Yahoo or ESPN or whatever that could be. And I mean, I used to play fantasy, back in the early 2000s when it first came out, and I was in 6 baseball leagues, 4 basketball. I was in fantasy golf, fantasy auto racing, baseball, basketball, all the 4 major sports. And I was looking at that every 2 seconds. I'm looking at all this different kind of stuff. And I have teams that are playing each other, the players that are playing each other. And I'm trying to root for this guy, but then I have him on the other team, and he's going against me on this team. So it's like a whole, crazy mess that I put myself in. But I mean, it really helped me know. If you ask me questions about 99 and 2000, 2001, about baseball or basketball, whatever it is, I could tell you exactly what players, what, and what position they played and all that stuff. Where now, I'm pretty good with it now, but not as good when I play fantasy. And I don't really play fantasy too much anymore. Just don't have really a lot of time to do that stuff. But we do get in 1 or 2 leagues a year for baseball, maybe a league for football and stuff like that. But it really helps you understand what's going on and what are the hot players and things like that. So the connection. Player performance impacts card prices. So when you have some performance and these players that are either outperforming, overperforming, underperforming, that impacts card prices, and that really helps you out. You can kind of tell, like if you're watching fantasy and you go play for the first month of baseball, and you look back and be like, yeah, this player's performance, he was supposed to hit 10 home runs in the first month and bat 300, but now he's batting 200 and he has no home runs. Maybe you try to look at that card, and that probably card is in lower than it should be. And you can probably buy some things and cheaper if you're buying singles. I always say, buy singles and things like that. And you might be able to buy these things for cheaper. And then maybe he comes back in the second half of the season and now his card's worth more. You make some money on it, or you just have a card that you got that you always wanted to, and it wasn't worth as much. You can pay for it and save some money. So there's two sides of the coin you can flip and look at, but it's very important about the connection and player performance. Like another example would be like Brock Purdy. I mean, Brock Purdy in 2022, 2023, I believe, he was like the third string quarterback, right? And then he was the last pick in the 2022 draft. And you can buy his card for like $3, $4, $5, maybe $10. And no one who knew who he was. You have some prospects and you had some people that knew who he was. But 90% of the people didn't know who he was. And then people got hurt and boom, he's starting quarterback. And now his card's worth $500. So it's a lot different. And the people that kind of played fantasy kind of knew what was going on and knew how these things happened probably before, all these injuries started happening and stuff like that. So Mahomes is another one. Mahomes was unknown, in 2018, and he went from an unknown to an MVP. And, he had one game as a rookie to 50 touchdowns, in the next season, whatever it was, right? So, his card went from I knew he was more well known, right? He was more well known, but like $30 to $50 to grand, $2,000, $3,000 now with these different cards, right? So people who play fantasy, you kind of know who he is. You kind of know who their backups are because you always know who the backups are, and we had LaDainian Tomlinson, and who his backup was, and you always grab their backup just in case they got hurt. Then you had some I guess clout, because then Tomlinson got hurt back in the 2000s. Then boom, you run into somebody else, and then that person might have 1,000 yards and give you a lot of points, and you drafted him last or things like that in fantasy, and that goes along with the sports cards, and you can kind of see, okay, well now his sports card is going to go up in value, so now I know because I play fantasy how that happens. So the connection is very important. The second thing I wrote down was daily fantasy, even sports betting influence. The role of betting, the role in shaping and demanding of certain cards and players' cards is very important and a big influence on what's going on with daily fantasy. If I'm looking at every day, that helps me know what cards are good, what cards are not so good, what cards I want to buy for a lower price because they're not really performing, things like that. Like I said back in the connection section, DraftKings, FanDuel, right? A lot of people bet now. And I don't really get into the betting aspect of these things, right? But even betting, you have these things that you're betting on, and you can look at auto racing or golf or whatever that could be, and bet $5 and win $50, and then you can kind of see, well, that person did pretty good in this bet, and they got this many points, and they're trying to get 25 points this night, and they got 30 points, and now you can kind of see you get your name. That name in your head, and you're like, oh, maybe I want to get his card and things like that, and maybe I can get it for a cheaper price before he kind of blows up, or I can get it if he doesn't do too well the last couple bets, maybe his value has gone down. So it really helps you out. Not that I'm saying to go bet or anything like that, not at all, right? But even if you just follow it and not even bet, the same things happen with fantasy and sports betting. It's very important to play for free, which I would do, and it helps you if you're really into sports cards and really don't really know and watch a lot of games or had time to watch a lot of games. Fantasy really helps you out. The third thing I wrote down was the rise of short-term flipping due to fantasy trends. Now, trending, talking about how player performance is going up, if the team's doing good, or if the player's doing good, or whatever that could be, and flipping, people flip a lot nowadays, right? Back more than 2000 when I was a kid and things like that. And people like I said, they may buy low because they're not having a great week, and then they have a great week and they have maybe 5 home runs in that week, and now their value's up, and boom, they sell that card, and they make, $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever that could be, and that's their livelihood. I don't really do that, but I can see people doing that and flipping, and playing fantasy really helps you know what the stats are doing. If you don't have time to watch Sports Center or time to watch, go onto YouTube and watch the recap of the night and things like that. So I mean, it's very important to play these things, even if you can play for free, to help you guys out and help you know who the hot players are, who the not so hot players are. I know I keep on repeating myself, but flipping is daily performance can flip it too. Like I said before, when you have 30 points one night and then the next day your card's going up in value. So the buy low, sell high mentality, that kind of mirrors fantasy trades. So you might be able to make a trade for a person that has like the last 2 weeks they've been doing great and their value is higher, and you can get a more spended player and trade for them. The same thing's happened with sports cards. You can buy and sell trades. I mean, Elly De La Cruz was a perfect example. Like, I didn't know who Elly De La Cruz was. Nobody knew who Elly De La Cruz was at the beginning of last year, the season before. And now look at him. So 2 years ago, now look at him. Now his card's worth a couple $1,000s when you get an auto and things like that. So CJ Stroud the same way. So, Saquon Barkley, look at Saquon Barkley. I mean, he got traded or, whatever, he got to the Eagles, and now look at him. They not traded, but he didn't sign with the Giants. So now look at him. He had one of the greatest seasons ever, and now look at his card value. So it's just like, performance is very important. And if you're in fantasy, obviously, if you're watching on TV, you know what's going on, right? But I mean, if you're in fantasy, you get 100 yards a night with a touchdown, 100 yards next week, and you can see his value increasing over the course of the season until you wait till the end of the season. Maybe your value's too high and you're trying to buy high and you're losing your on the end. But the rising of short-term flipping and long-term flipping, even though I don't flip cards, but I can see people doing that, and you can see how fantasy could help you with that. Breakout players, unexpected booms, I wrote down. Fantasy sleepers, waiver wire packages. That's very important because, if you look at, you can go through, it's so easy to look at stats. My point here is it's so easy to look at stats when you're playing fantasy because you can go to waiver wire and you can see, okay, this guy has this many home runs. He's batting 300. He has this on-base percentage. This is his slugging. He has this many runs scored, this many RBIs, whatever that could be, right? And you can rank them all very easily, right? Very easily than any other, site when you're looking at this stuff. You can say, well, this guy is having a pretty good season. Nobody has him yet. Maybe I want to pick him up, and maybe I go on eBay and look at his card and see what his card's doing, right? Oh, his card's worth $1. Maybe I get his card and see what happens. It's very low risk but high reward waiver wire picks, and that kind of regulates or goes to the actual cards as well. So sleepers is very, like I said, with Elly De La Cruz, CJ Stroud, all these different kinds of sleepers. Even though CJ Stroud was more important, he had a high value before he even played games before the beginning of last year. So, things like that really help you out. And good looking at stats is very important when you're looking at all this stuff and comparing the stats and then going to how if their card's doing well or not. That's a very, very important part of breakout players and unexpected booms that you might look at. So, high demand, may drive the price up. If there's not a lot of demand, so you can see if they're on the waiver wire, there's probably not a lot of demand, so their card's not going to be worth as much. So it correlates back and forth. That as one goes up, the other one goes up and goes back and forth. We call it a positive correlation in science. It's kind of the same thing. So my last thing I wanted to write down is how does that help predict knowing who to buy? So what do you guys think? How does fantasy help predict know what to buy? If you want to buy cards and things like that, how does that help you predict what's going on and how to buy these different things? So let us know in the comments what you guys think, and we appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you guys later. And make sure to comment Insider if you wanted to, and let us know what you guys think. Peace.